Hello, all my favorite shadow people. Welcome to the week of April 10th. We're here for our weekly shadow practice. And this week we are looking at the parts of ourselves that we have negative thoughts about. So I've never met a person who didn't have a single negative thought about themselves, although I do believe a lot of our negative thoughts can be subconscious, maybe something we're not aware of. So we're going to dig into that a little more this week, starting with our journal question or your meditation question, depending on how you like to go about asking yourself these things. The question today is, what negative thoughts about myself do I believe to be true? So sometimes these are kind of hidden from us, but one easy way to discover whether you're carrying negative thoughts about yourself is if you get overly upset about a situation that maybe seems a little outside of how upset you should be. And maybe you don't notice at the time, because usually when emotions come up, we aren't thinking that clearly. Maybe afterwards, when you sit and think about it, you go, oh, that was a bit much. A good way to think about it is maybe if you've ever had a situation where you just felt really uncomfortable, or something that made you really angry if someone said something about you, even if on the surface you're not sure that you believe it. Usually, if you have a strong reaction on a subconscious level, you might have some sort of belief about that being true. And sometimes if you find yourself talking really positively about a characteristic about yourself, almost to the point of overselling it, it can also be a sign that you don't feel that confident about that quality. So just thinking about those things as you take some time to write or meditate about yourself, try to remember any past instances where it just seemed to really get under your skin. And when you're writing about these negative thoughts that you have, try to see if they might come from somewhere else. Like maybe a parent or a teacher has given them to you, maybe a partner. See if there's anyone in your life that verifies this belief and maybe promotes it to be true. And once you've had some time to think about that, you can move on to the next part of the practice. So this is a more challenging practice of working with the shadow self. If you become overwhelmed at any time, you can always stop, take a few breaths. It's important that you monitor yourself and respect yourself too, because no one else knows what's going on inside you. So you have to be the person responsible for if it becomes too much. But this general practice is a great way of working out those hidden emotional beliefs that we carry about ourselves that might have a limiting impact on what we decide to do with our lives or how we interact with other people. So just to make it easier, I'll provide an example as I go along. So the general activity that we're going to do involves stating something about ourselves that is our greatest fear about what we believe to be true about ourselves, and then processing the emotion of it. Let's say that you're a really hard worker, and every time something goes wrong at work, you just feel a real tenseness build up in your chest. Maybe you feel like a panicky feel, even though you're usually a good worker and things don't usually go wrong. When the thing does go wrong, you notice an automatic big response. But why would you have that response if you're a good worker? In this situation, we might consider the possibility that we're secretly afraid that we're not a good worker, or that we're bound to fail, or that we're an imposter. These are all really common fears for people to have. But how do we work through them? And this is just one method where we might say something to ourselves like, I'm the most horrible worker there ever was. Everyone's going to find out that I'm a horrible worker. Or maybe you would say, they're going to find out my secret. I'm an imposter. The truth is going to come out and everyone's going to hate me. Any of these sentences would work for this practice. You just need to find the one that feels the most emotionally reactive for you. And once you've found that statement, you're going to find somewhere that you're sitting comfortably with your eyes closed, and you're going to state that statement. You're going to say it. And with your eyes closed, you're going to see where in your body you react. So maybe you're going to get a tenseness in your shoulders, or a fiery feeling in your chest, or maybe your eyes feel a little like they want to cry. All of these are really normal. And the best way to process that energy is to invite it in more. And if you're having trouble interacting with it, you can keep saying statements like that, repeat the same statement, or try other ones until you feel like that emotion really becomes clear in your body. So sometimes it's a little challenging for us to move towards these emotions, but in order to process the energy, we have to invite them in and walk towards them. Because the challenge is when we just lightly think about the emotion and then quickly do something to push it away, is it kind of gets caught and it doesn't go anywhere, but it's still there. It's like you've created something, but now you're ignoring it. And that doesn't do very well for that kind of energy. So the best way to deal with it is to face it squarely and invite it in as if it's something that you want to be there. Try to feel it fully. If you're feeling emotional already, having that kind of week, you might find that this will make you cry, this will make you angry. It might bring sadness, loneliness. There's all kinds of emotions that can come up. But the quickest way to make that emotional energy pass through you is to treat it as though it's something you asked for and you wanted in your body, and invite it in. So don't try to add story. That's what the mind will always try to do, is come up with some more information for you to deal with. But you don't need more information. You just need the emotion. So whenever your mind starts talking again, you can go back to your sentence, feel the emotion, be there, and try to feel inviting to it. After some time, if you've done this for a few minutes, you might notice the energy starts to fade, process out, or that you're just too tired to work with it anymore. All of these are fine. You can just stop, take a few breaths, and release that emotion. Take a few breaths and just stop thinking about that for a minute. So sometimes it's hard if we don't train our brains to stop thinking, because that's what meditation does. So if you're not doing a meditative practice to teach your brain to stop thinking, sometimes the best way to fix it is just to think about something else. But following this practice, if you feel like you have it come up again in the future, you can always try processing the energy again. And just know that the more we face that energy, the lighter it becomes and the less powerful it becomes. So it kind of fades a little bit and it stops having that power over you. Until one day you're going to find that you can make that statement and you won't even flinch. You'll just think, nah, that's not the truth. And that's what we're working on here. It's just getting the emotional weight out of these beliefs so that they don't have the power over us anymore. So for the last part, just returning to ourselves. So this is a good meditative practice now that you've gone into yourself, to just take you to a point where you have something to focus on, but it's not maybe that negative thought that we were just working with. We're going to do a sound meditation. So set a timer for however long you feel like focusing, sitting somewhere, lying somewhere. And all you're going to do is take a few deep breaths and release. We're going to take our attention to our ears. We're going to start noticing whatever sounds are immediately available in the room. Maybe you can only hear your breathing. Maybe you can hear the creaks of the house. And after we've taken our focus to those sounds, we can start trying to hear the sounds under the sounds. So any background noise, the sound of air moving past your ears, the breath in your lungs. Notice if you can hear your own heartbeat. And you can spend as long as you want here, but you'll probably notice the longer you spend here, the more noises seem to become apparent. And you can come back to this meditation anytime you want to stop thinking and be in your body but just hearing every sound that becomes available to you. And we'll see you again next week for more weekly shadow practices. Take care.